Good morning, Osby. Good morning, everybody, once again. Now, South Africa is indeed a water-scarce country. We know this for a fact. And, the severe drought in the Western Cape is, we're told, just a taste of things to come. Long-term predictions are that things are going to get increasingly drier. And often we forget where that water comes from. We know it, we open the tap, it's there, but where does that water come from? We're right here at the Maltino Reservoir. It is one of the oldest in the cities, and recently some of the water from the Oranje Zucht main streams have been piped here, so that's good news. But let's find out about this journey that water takes. And Kristen Colvin, a freshwater expert from WWF SA, joins me now live. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Just take us through this journey and use Table Mountain, this beautiful Table Mountain, as a catchment area. From source to tap, what's the journey like?
Well, this is such a fantastic example right here on our doorstep. And at WWF, we always say water doesn't come from a tap. Because, of course, the condition of the natural environment, our catchments and the water source areas where water comes from is really critical to everybody's water security. And what we can see right here is that behind us we've got beautiful Table Mountain. Table Mountain itself is a water source area. It's a high mountainous area that gets more rainfall than the rest of the surrounding areas. So that's where the headwaters of all the streams and little rivers that flow into Cape Town and the surrounding suburbs come from. It also provides an excellent example for groundwater as well, because the Table Mountain Group aquifer, which is named after Table Mountain but occurs right the way through the Western Cape, is also a really critical source of water for us. And that aquifer is recharged again in the high rainfall areas. The water percolates through the rock formations, through all the gaps and joints and fault zones, and is stored for hundreds of years underground for us to access it when we need it.
Christine, what are some of the major threats that are facing the water sources and our river systems?
Well, up in the catchments in the water source areas, alien invasive vegetation is a huge threat. At the moment, in the catchment areas that feed the Western Cape, we know that we're losing 38 million cubic meters per annum to alien vegetation. So that's 10 times what's stored in the Maltino Reservoir that we're losing because alien vegetation uses more water than our indigenous vegetation. So that's a key threat in those areas, both to groundwater recharge and to the sources that feed the rivers and ultimately feed the dams. But it's not the only threat. In other areas of the country, in Mpumalanga and inland KwaZulu-Natal, coal mining in some of the water source areas is a critical threat. That often results in acid mine drainage, and that can carry on again for hundreds of years after the mines have supposedly been closed but not properly cared for after mining has ceased. And of course in our cities and in our urban areas, we face threats from pollution, from poorly managed litter and waste collection, and our own wastewater treatment plants. Many of them are not functioning to the level that's necessary to release water safely back into our river systems, and they pose a key pollution threat as well.
You spoke about Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal. You've recently been in my neck of the woods there with regards to hiking and paddling, taking this journey of water from source to tap. What is the aim of that?
That's really to highlight to South Africans exactly that water doesn't come from a tap, that it goes on a very long journey to get to us. And if you live in Joburg, your water may have come from Lesotho. So what happens in the very remote Drakensberg areas is of relevance to our city dwellers as well. And we need to look after the whole catchment and that whole value chain that water flows through.
I just want to get back to pollution. Practically, what can we do to prevent it?
I think at a personal level, we all need to be aware in terms of, where is our rubbish going to? Everything that gets dropped on the street ultimately ends up getting washed into our stormwater system, into rivers and into the sea. So we're becoming a lot more aware about that impact, particularly plastics in the ocean at the moment. At the moment in the Western Cape, using less water is really critical. Reusing our own grey water, particularly for flushing our toilets, not using fresh potable water just to move urine onto the wastewater treatment plant. And at the business level as well, there's a lot that facilities managers can do to minimise pollution and maximise water use efficiency. It's going to be a long, hot summer for Cape Townians, and we really all need to get with the program of saving water.
So essentially it's about changing attitudes and behaviours, isn't it?
Very much so, and I think we've seen that fundamentally in the last couple of months, particularly in the Western Cape, an appreciation of water and the value of water. And now that we're looking into all of these new emergency plans for new sources of water, those are incredibly expensive compared to looking after the catchments we already have and keeping those in a good condition to keep delivering water.
We've seen great chatting to you, great insight there. Christine Colvin is a freshwater expert from WWFSA. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Let's take a bit of a break. After the break, we'll get all the sporting details. Faye has all that. Stay with us.